The closest collaborator of the Wuhan lab in the West, a man named Peter Daszak, who runs an organization called the EcoHealth Alliance, which had funneled millions of dollars from US taxpayers to this research in Wuhan over the years. He was preparing a letter for the Lancet, which he got 27 scientists to sign, saying it couldn't possibly have come from a lab, and we've got to shut down that possibility. He didn't reveal his role in orchestrating that. Was just one of the signatures. He didn't note his conflict of interest in that letter, the fact that he was a very close collaborator and friend of the Wuhan lab. It took 18 months before the Lancet published a statement of conflict of interest under pressure on that. But more important than any of that, the one crucial thing that Peter Daszak didn't reveal, and that we didn't find out until September 2021, was that he had put in an application to the Pentagon, to the DARPA, the research arm of the Pentagon, in 2018, in collaboration with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, among others, to do experiments on SARS-like viruses that they found in bats. And those experiments were to include, if they found ones that weren't very similar to SARS-1, that were new, were to include putting a furin cleavage site into such a virus.
First is, which animal did the virus come from? It's thought to have originated in bats and likely jumped to another animal before jumping to humans. For the original SARS virus that arose in 2003, that intermediary was determined to be the civet. For MERS, caused by another coronavirus, it was camels. But scientists haven't yet identified that link for SARS-CoV-2. Proponents of the lab theory argue that's a point in their favor. But scientists have argued if the virus had been manipulated in a lab, there would be telltale marks left behind in its makeup. None of these have been identified, a point in favor of the natural hypothesis. But arguments can be made against both of these points as well. Not identifying the link from bats yet doesn't mean one doesn't exist. And there are lab techniques of working with viruses that wouldn't leave signs. Finally, of course, is where all of this began. The fact that the city of Wuhan, where the first cases of COVID were detected, is also home to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a renowned research center on coronaviruses. U.S. intelligence reported on this week said 3 researchers from the lab were sick enough to be hospitalized in November 2019, although the significance of the intelligence is being debated. That element has also led to political pressure on Dr. Anthony Fauci because of NIH funding tied to that lab. He explained to the Senate today the reasoning behind the funding.
Clearly, the bats that have the viruses, that are the coronaviruses, are in China. As I said a couple of times, it's not in Fairfax County, Virginia, or is it in New York? It's in China.
Now, amid all of this, some I've spoken with say it could be impossible to pin down the origins of the virus without more cooperation from China.